Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's officially open the meeting. Welcome to the January 2026 Hillsborough Wade CAC meeting. And this is really a meeting for all Raleigh residents citywide because we're doing a candidate forum of at-large candidates. We have 6 candidates tonight. We have James Bledsoe. We have Joshua Bradley. We have Councilor Stormy Fort. We have Clark Reinhardt, Sana Siddiqui. Did I pronounce that close enough? Siddiqui, thank you. And Cameron Zamat. So my apologies. So for tonight, we're going to have each candidate introduce themselves. We're going to go in alphabetical order to be fair. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to introduce themselves and tell us why they are running for city council, basically their elevator speech, as some people call it. We will ask for attendees to put their questions in the chat function. If you don't feel like doing that and you want to ask verbally, please raise your hand mechanically if you can, or try to wave at us and somebody will call on you. We have myself as host and we have 2 co-hosts, Clodagh and Donna. And we would like for attendees to try to put together a question if you're going to ask it in like 30 seconds or less, and then we would give candidates 2 minutes to answer each question. And that went to the candidates ahead of time. And if we have time after that, and we want to do wrap-up comments from each candidate, which I did not talk about, we could consider that depending on how our timing goes. So with
Mike, I'm happy to time people if you need.
Thank you. So with those, so everybody understands the rules, and again, everybody knows to be nice and polite and be respectful of everybody's time and not do any long speeches and just get to the point. And so with that, we're going to start off with James Bledsoe
for a 3 minute or less introduction.
Yes. Yeah. Don't feel like you have to take 3 minutes, but some candidates said they needed 3 minutes. So.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me. I truly appreciate that you're allowing us all to be here. Neighborhood input matters, and it should really carry weight in how Raleigh is governed. Again, my name is James Bledsoe, and I'm running for Raleigh City Council at large. Served in the Army for 20 years as a combat veteran. 2 years of that was in Iraq and Afghanistan and other countries. So the reason why I'm running is because I believe that our city is growing fast, and too many residents feel that growth is happening to them, not with them. So I'm running to help restore balance and common sense at City Hall. I believe Raleigh can grow while still protecting existing neighborhoods. We can make housing more affordable without pushing long-time residents out. We can support small, well-planned density where infrastructure already exists, while respecting the character of established communities. These goals don't have to be in conflict, but they do require better decision-making. A major focus of my campaign is cost of living. That includes housing, but also property taxes, fees, and policies that quietly drive up our costs every single year. My approach is simple. Before we ask residents to pay more, the city must do a better job of prioritizing and managing what it already has. That means cutting waste, asking tough questions, and being honest about trade-offs. Public safety is another priority. As Raleigh grows, we must ensure that police and firefighters staffing keeps pace, response times stay low, and that first responders are supported and able to live in the city where they serve. As most of you know, 99% of our first responders do not live in the city of Raleigh because they cannot afford to. And then most importantly, I believe that CACs and CACs and neighborhood groups should be involved early in the decision-making process, not just brought in after the fact. Residents deserve a seat at the table, and I'm not here because I think City Hall needs to have louder voices. I'm here because it needs better listening. Thank you for your time tonight, and I look forward to the discussion.
Thanks, James.
Thanks, James. We have Joshua Bradley up next.
Hey, friends and neighbors. My name is Joshua Bradley. It's not my first time running, so you might have seen me in previous election campaigns. I haven't really changed what I'm running for. I'm running here to try to give a seat at the table to the workers in Raleigh and to the people that are often ignored by the city council. we've got a lot of things that are important that we need to prioritize. We need to prioritize housing, but we need to prioritize housing for people that are making regular wages, like much less than the 85%. And we need to do it in such a way that we make sure that we take care of the people that need it most. So when it comes down to it, we as a city are growing very fast, and we're getting a lot of people in, and a lot of people with money in. So you see a lot of these developments coming in, and the developers are making a whole lot of money building market rate and luxury housing, which doesn't help the majority of people that live and work in the city. The city is important for the city to be able to, for the people that work there, like James had said, to live in the city. I mean, not only our first responders, but everybody that works in the city should be able to not only live and survive, but thrive in the city of Raleigh. And right now, if you're not the upwardly mobile middle class or above, you don't have that. So a lot of people say business needs a seat at the table. I say that business has a seat at the table. They own the table. We need to have the workers that actually produce the value have some say in city politics. And that's one of the main reasons I'm running. Somebody had asked a question to somebody about working with ICE. I don't think we should work with ICE. I think we should, now is the time to stand up and protect our residents from people that come in and grab people off the streets and shoot them. Like, if we want to know where we would have stood in the 1930s in Italy and Germany, what we're doing right now is showing what we would have done then. So we really, really don't need to be egging on the redneck Gestapo. So my goal is to fight for a city that is livable for the people that do the work here, and to protect everybody that lives in the city. Over. Thank you.
Thanks, James. Or thanks, Joshua. Okay, Stormy, you're up next.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank y'all for hosting this meeting. My name is Stormy Fort. I am currently one of the at-large members of the Raleigh City Council. I've been on the council since 2020. Currently running for, I think this will be my fourth term. I'm a native of Raleigh, born and raised here, been here majority of my life, and certainly have seen a lot of different things in terms of how the city has changed, how we've grown. One of the things that I'm very proud of is that, we frequently come in on top 5 and top 10 best places to live, best places for companies to relocate. And I think that's all a sign that the city is very well managed and very well maintained and growing. And certainly know that as we're getting more companies coming into the area, it's a great opportunity for us to expand the city. We've got a lot of projects that we're working on. Certainly, some of the challenges that we continue to have certainly is our unsheltered population, dealing with folks who are experiencing homelessness, and certainly with some of the inclement weather that we've had over the last couple of days, that remains at top of mind to make sure that everybody has a good opportunity to have adequate housing. And when we're talking about affordable housing, particularly even the naturally occurring affordable housing, one of the things we want to make sure we're doing is not only having the quantity of units, but having the quality of units. We certainly want to make sure we've got opportunities for folks to have great places to live, to work and play in the city. Some of the other things that we need to continue working on is our transportation system, making sure that the folks who rely on public transit, that it's efficient, that it's affordable, but that our bus drivers also feel very safe with the work that they do. Certainly want to target opportunities for our minority and small-owned business community to keep those companies growing, and certainly making sure that our infrastructure and public safety and everything else keeps up with the needs of a growing community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stormy. Okay, up next is Clark Reinhardt.
Hey, friends, hope you can hear me. I'm coming in live from NC State after a lecture I was just at. I've been your neighbor for 17 years. I live in District C. I'm a husband. I am a father to two Wake County public school kids. And I'm originally from Miami. My mother's an immigrant. She's from Guatemala. Her mother was raised in Medellin, Colombia. And I'm bilingual. I grew up in a bilingual home, and Miami very much shapes the way in which I think about the world, being that it was a global city. And I moved up here to go to Duke Divinity School after getting my engineering degree in Miami. And I served as a local church pastor for almost 10 years. Service is a part of how I see the world. And this step into the public service sector after having a lot of experience along the way, both in my personal life, volunteering, supporting a lot of nonprofits here in town, but also my professional life in this interdisciplinary mix around community engagement, community development, and economic development. I saw this opportunity to really jump into this next chapter as a public servant at the council table. My key priority is affordable housing supply and also investing in the subsidy that's required to continue to provide the affordable and attainable housing our city deserves. Some of the folks who went before me did a really great job of summarizing some of those key points. One of my big ideas is to work with churches and nonprofits that own assets in our urban core and to create public-private partnerships that can change the generational housing calculus. A lot of those assets and parcels are near efficient, affordable, and reliable transit already. We've got infrastructure in place, and they have a privileged tax class, being that they're tax exempt and own those parcels. So want to see them as partners to help us change the way we build our city moving forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Clark. Okay, Sana?
Yes,
Tell me how I'm pronouncing it wrong.
like the sun. It's Sana like the sun.
Okay.
My name is Sana Siddiqui, and I am grateful to be here today. So thank you to the CACs for organizing this. I'm running because I care about three things: affordability, small businesses, and community engagement. I've lived in Raleigh for 26 years, and for those of us who have been here long enough, you've seen how the city has grown, and we've talked about the growth. It's exciting, but it's also made Raleigh less affordable for everyday people. And I'm running for council because I want Raleigh to grow responsibly with affordability at the center. And that means increasing housing supply, but in the right places while being mindful of infrastructure needs and environmental impacts. And affordability to me also means paying city staff competitively so that they can afford to live near where they work and serve our communities more effectively. I'm also a small business owner, and I've experienced how rising costs are also hurting our local businesses. I want to look into special programs to help them grow, and we also need to improve city services for small businesses by making permitting faster and processes more clearer and easier to navigate for them. And one thing that's really important to me, like I said earlier, is community engagement or community connection. That's been central to my work. For years now, I've been hosting a large free monthly community event series in downtown Raleigh at Moore Square. It's called First Friday Market and Movie Night. And this is done in partnership with the city of Raleigh. We bring thousands of families together each month. This event also creates opportunities for local vendors to connect with residents. I have personally served on multiple city advisory boards. I've served on the Hispanic and Immigrant Affairs Board. I currently serve on the Environmental Advisory Board and the Human Relations Commission right now. And through years of partnership with the city and serving on these boards, I feel that I've come to have a strong understanding of city processes and the problems that still need to be addressed. And I also see how disconnected many residents are from how decisions are made. And many people don't have the time or familiarity to make their voices heard. I care deeply about this issue, and I want to change that by intentionally engaging with communities across Raleigh. I want to do this by engaging leadership from different communities, such as faith-based communities and immigrant communities, environmental advocates, just bring more voices to the table. I will say that I may not have all the answers today, but my focus right now is to listen and learn from you and to work with you to make Raleigh a more affordable and thriving place for all of us. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and then we have Cameron next.
All righty, rounding it out. Hey, everybody. In 6 words, the reason that I am running for council is because City Council needs young, courageous leaders. The 50-word answer to that is that Raleigh is growing fast, and in order to grow well, Raleigh has to move well. And so that's why I'm running on a primarily transportation-first platform. Hopefully by the end of tonight, if we get some good questions, everybody here will understand how transportation reform will trickle into other areas like safety and affordability and first responder resources, stormwater, and the list goes on. But I believe that it all starts with the way we move. And so that is what I'm focused on. That's what I'm running on. A city that moves well, to me, looks like more people walking, more people on bikes, and more people taking the bus. A couple concrete ways that we can make that happen is by connecting our existing pedestrian infrastructure, sidewalks, right? That's a pretty low-hanging fruit. We can protect our bike lanes, and we can change the way that our transit system is structured so that it serves more people throughout more areas of the city. A little bit about me. I've lived all over the world. I grew up in a military family. I got my degree in engineering from the University of Florida, and I got my MBA from the University of Arizona. My final project at my MBA program was a bike rental service, and I turned that into a business called the Bike Library that is currently a bike shop and coffee shop that is located in downtown. I built that kind of because I wanted to get more people around bikes. And I also have always wanted to own my own coffee shop. And I feel, especially post-COVID, that we need a place to gather and to see each other sort of in an unfiltered environment. So that's why I created that shop. I've also worked on city staff. I was specifically in the BRT section of the transit department, which is part of the transportation department. And I got to see a lot of the problems with how city staff and city council work, as well as a lot of the good stuff, the good parts of that relationship, and how we work with advisory boards and how the entire system works. I wasn't on city staff very long before I turned into a full-time business owner, but I still think that colored my experience. Now that I am kind of at steady state on the business, I saw the opportunity to run for council, and here we are. I think that we've got 6 awesome candidates, and so whatever the outcome is, I think that Raleigh is in good hands. So thank you again for the time. Looking forward to some good questions.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Cameron, and thank all 6 candidates. And thank you again for wanting to serve Raleigh residents. I think public service is obviously a high calling, and thank you for wanting to do that. So I have 2 co-hosts working with me, Donna and Clodagh, and we're asking people to put questions into the chat. I think they've been looking at the chat more than I have. Donna or Clodagh, do you want to read a question, or do you want to tell me or point me?
Yeah, let me jump in. I've been keeping track. There's some great questions. I've been keeping track of what we've got, and it looks like we have a few categories that are crystallizing out. So in the interest of time and getting hopefully everybody's questions covered somewhat, maybe we could start there and then go to individual questions as we can after we get the big picture.
That sounds great.
All right, so
Clodagh, one sec. I would say just try and keep your answers between 1 and 2 minutes, because there are 6 of you, and the quicker we go, the more questions we can ask. And I'll be timing.
Always kind, Donna. So there were a lot of questions around development, and I'm going to see if I can package some of them in there. One that I saw fairly frequently was the question of campaign funding and the input of developers versus public input. How will you balance those 2 sometimes conflicting requests as you weigh the issues? Another development-related issue was the recent upzonings of parcels that got quite a lot of public discussion. And finally, would you take campaign contributions from developers, what would that look like? So I know that's a lot in one package, but overall development, how do you see the balance between public interest and development interest? What is your position on increasing density beyond what the plan stands for now, and how do you handle campaign contributions?
Candidates, if you want, because you could just start speaking, but it might be better to raise your hand so that you'll be in the queue in case a couple of you want to answer this particular series of questions. You can do that.
Hope all of them answer the question. So
that's entirely up to them. You know.
Do you want to do alphabetical again?
I would say as people queue up, how about that?
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out how to raise my hand here.
It's down in the React. It's got usually a heart symbol at the bottom, and under React there's a raise hand symbol.
Yeah. All right. Looks like Cameron's got his hand raised. Yes.
There you go.
Cool. So, everybody's reacting now. Okay, so I'll try to keep this short. Public interest versus private investment. I think there's a way to develop properly without feeling like we're gatekeeping Raleigh. I think right now the kind of knee-jerk reaction to do high-rise towers is not entirely what most people in Raleigh are looking for. I think that's pretty apparent, but we also need density. I think that the way that we're going to achieve that density is through changes to the UDO, specifically changing setbacks and minimum lot sizes, specifically in R4 through R10. I think that those particular zonings are the ones that are most in need of increased density. There are also a couple sort of hidden ways that we can increase density through gentle density, right? The exempt plat process, it is something that Raleigh opted out of a while back. It's a state thing, and it governs how you subdivide small lots. So if we opt into that exempt plat process or program, we can subdivide smaller lots into 3, and that will allow smaller scale developers to develop small multifamily units on small lots. I think also we need to prevent our regulations from requiring the same of small developers, again, people who are trying to build duplexes or triplexes one off at a time, as they do from large developers like Kane. That's kind of the nugget right there. Hope I answered the question.
All right, thanks. Sona?
Yes, you can hear me now?
Yep.
And I will lower my hand. I made notes. So 2 parts of the question. One, I believe, was about campaign funding. And the other part was about working with the developers or affordability and density. So campaign funding, I am prioritizing funding from, this is a grassroots campaign for me. I'm prioritizing funding from people like us. I am not taking any developer money because the city council represents everyone, including the developers. However, I am prioritizing everyday people. And so regarding the other part of the question was density. We do need growth. Raleigh is growing fast and we can't or shouldn't try to stop it. But we do need to do it in a responsible way. So we're not pushing long-term residents out of their neighborhoods. I do believe we need to build more housing, but we need to be intentional about what we build and where we build. And we need to make sure that development includes housing that's actually affordable for lower income residents and not just luxury units. And also that affordable units are mixed in with all levels of income. I also want to say that we need to hold developers accountable also for any rezonings that happen, but they don't actually get built. They don't actually build. So those are my thoughts on this.
Okay. Thank you. Joshua, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I'll speak, and if I can try to remember the questions. First of all, developers would be insane to donate to my campaign. If for some reason they think it's funny and do, I will return it. When it comes down to it, I don't think that's going to be an issue for my campaign, but but if I receive, I would not accept any developer campaigns. Also very grassroots. As far as, I mean, we don't, the developers have enough people at the table. We need people that are going to stand up for the community. I'm not going to give developers any special consideration. I oppose any large-scale development that does not include a housing that's affordable to workers, and we'll vote against them. I think density is important, but more importantly is to make sure that the people that live and work in the city can afford to live here. So whether this city on its own dime builds housing on city-owned land, there are ways that this could be done, and it could be prioritized, would be acceptable. But you need to listen to the will of the people. The problem with missing middle housing has to do with the fact that the kind of took out public input, and it doesn't guarantee affordability. It's just like the ADU thing. The ADUs were said, we're going to solve housing by allowing everybody to build ADUs, not ACUs, ADUs. But we also deregulated Airbnb at the same time. So it's not going to contribute to more housing. It's going to contribute to more short-term rentals. So I hope that answered the question. And if there's any more, just hit me up in the chat. Thanks.
Thanks, Joshua. And James, you're up next.
Thank you. So I plan to approach these issues about density with balance. Growth is inevitable, but it has to make sense for neighborhoods. I want to make sure that public input comes first. That means working with CACs. That means listening through town halls when we're outside of council. Residents need a voice in how their community changes, but we also need to listen to developers' ideas when they align with the public good. My time with the Army Corps of Engineers has taught me how to analyze complex projects, manage community priorities, and plan for long-term impacts. So I want to use that knowledge, bring in the Army Corps of Engineers where we're struggling or where we're having issues. And I want to bring that same discipline to Raleigh, where we can increase density responsibly without sacrificing affordability, infrastructure, or neighborhood character.
Thanks, James.
And we still need to hear from Stormy and Clark.
Yeah. Well,
I'll go if that's okay.
If they want to address a question, they can. If they don't want to, I think that's okay too.
I think it's important that all candidates answer all the questions, unless somebody asks for one candidate to. So if Clark and Stormy wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I think unfortunately we're all answering different versions of the nested questions. It might make sense to put the questions in the chat if that's okay. Just so we can all answer the same questions if you want us all to have an all state, which I think is a good idea. I think James is right. I think balance is key. I think imposing rezoning will on every neighborhood is inappropriate. I do think prioritizing density in growth centers to create the kind of connective business and social fabric that we need. I think transportation is important, to echo some of Cameron's thoughts earlier. We need some of the walkability and the connectivity to support the kinds of transit that we need that's less car dependent. I've caught some flack as the anti-car person. That's not true. But I do think we are pretty car dependent in this city, and we need some of that appropriate density to connect these growth centers. I also think we need to connect transit and housing to living wage jobs, connecting some of the stuff that Joshua said over time. It changes people's affordability calculus. My screen is like going crazy here, so hopefully you can hear me. But changes people's affordability calculus. And as I mentioned to you before, Steph Mendel, put in the chat somewhere up above. I tried to find it, but I couldn't find it, to be honest with you. That there's going to be a budget shortfall. We have tax exempt entities sitting on some of our best by right zoning in the urban core that could be prioritized for affordable, attainable, missing middle housing. They're saying they want to be good neighbors. Again, I was a local church pastor, right? These are folks who have a privileged tax class or faith-based entities and say they want to be a good neighbor. my work over the last couple of years and my advocacy will be in
10
pushing
seconds.
pushing them to leverage that privileged tax class for the public good in terms of building housing that's connected to transit and living wage jobs. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Cameron. Or thanks, Clark.
Stormy?
Yep. Certainly think that affordable housing, of course, is very important in the city of Raleigh. Let me tackle the elephant in the room. So, looking at the last rezoning as it relates to North Hills, I know a lot of folks had a lot of interest in that particular rezoning. My particular vote came down to the fact that the way the current zoning, or the zoning at the time, was, the exact number of units that the rezoning was requesting were the same number of units that could have been built by right at that time. The question was, how was it going to be built? Was it going to be built up, or was it going to be built out? The applicant came back and offered affordable housing, a $1 million contribution to the Affordable Housing Fund, and also offered to provide money towards providing a fire station in the area in close proximity. So if the council had voted down the rezoning, and I know there are people on the call, I've talked to some of the folks on the call who don't necessarily agree with the staff's, recommendations or the staff's report about the rezoning. I know that was an issue for some folks, but with the information that they provided us, the same number of units, the same traffic impacts, everything would have been the same. The developer could have built it by right with the same impacts versus getting a contribution to the Affordable Housing Fund and getting a contribution towards the fire station. So that was the difference. You could have gotten something or gotten nothing, but the same number of units and the same traffic impacts. As relates to the conversation about contributions from developers, I think there are certain developers that people are referencing when they ask this question. Those developers don't contribute to my campaigns. My campaign report is public. Y'all can go back and look. Over the time that I've been on the council, there are a lot of developers who don't contribute to my campaign. The developers who do contribute to my campaign are minority developers, most of whom I grew up with, because I'm a native of Raleigh, and these are small minority-owned businesses that contribute to my campaign. And
10 seconds.
And what I will say is, with the campaign money, it doesn't come to me personally. I hire people to work for my campaign who need the money, and I also support small minority-owned businesses, LGBTQ businesses, by buying materials from them for the purposes of the campaign.
Thanks, Stormy. Okay, can we, on the questions, that was quite a list of...
That was a big package.
Yeah.
Sorry, you guys.
So if we can do something more concise, and we could direct it. At this stage, and we didn't have this conversation about, if we ask a question, does every candidate need to answer it or not? And so you heard Don and I discussing that live just now. I'm happy to go either way if the candidates are okay with that. We didn't get that kind of feedback from the candidates either. So we can do it however y'all want. Everybody answer the same question. Does that work for everybody? Or do we start breaking it up and you take a question here, somebody else takes a question there? What do you feel like doing?
I think there are still some big questions that all the candidates should go ahead and answer, just because, we have various questions in the chat that are pertaining to those. Since Clark
and we are hearing, I'm seeing some comments about, yes, everyone answer every question.
Okay, so Claude, if we can kind of keep the ask relatively simple so everybody can remember it.
I'll keep the heat down. I was going to go, since Clark referenced Steph's question about the budget. Let's just take that question because it pertains to a couple of other folks as well. And I'll just take Steph's literal question. At Saturday's retreat, staff announced that we're currently looking at an $18.3 million shortfall for fiscal year 2027. Yet the plans for 2027 would require an even larger budget. What would you do to ensure tax dollars are spent efficiently and effectively?
Cameron, you've got your hand up first.
Cool. I think it's worth putting in perspective that we spent $58 million on roadway resurfacing in the last fiscal year. And so, yeah, we're not going to take that entire 17-ish million out of the roadway resurfacing budget, but road diets, for those who don't know, road diets are when you take maybe a 4-lane road and reduce it down to 3 lanes. That is a way that we can save money on roadway resurfacing while also maintaining the quality of our roadway system. Of course, I'm not advocating for just having unmaintained roadways, but there are areas like that where you look at this budget and you look at some of these numbers and it's a whole bunch of commas and zeros and you're like, man, where can I make a cut here to pull some extra funding out, right? Because the answer is not to tax people more. So obviously it's going to have to come from the existing budget. We spent $200 million on the BRT, the Western BRT corridor. Like that's a mind-bending number, and it's going to be pushing up close to $400 million. So there is budget for this. It's just we have to reframe what actually is important, and unfortunately, some of the city council members are going to have to make hard decisions that might not immediately sound like what is going to make everybody happy. But if it is actually in the best interest of the people of Raleigh, and it's a hard decision. That's just leadership at the end of the day. I think the other part of making a good budget is getting that information from the city manager more than a couple of days prior to it being due. And so that is something that I've heard a lot about, and that I've made a couple of comments on in the past is, if I get elected to council, I'm going to start asking for that budget a lot sooner than it's been getting delivered to council, because in order to look through all these line items and make questions about these items and make decisions that might require more input, we're going to need more time. So that would kind of be it. We need to find areas that we're spending too much, and we need to have more time as a city council to look at the budget to make these hard decisions.
Thanks, Cameron. Did it right in 2 minutes. Okay, Sona?
You can hear me? Okay.
Yep.
I do agree with Cameron, and I've also heard that oftentimes council members don't have enough time to review the budget. It's a big book. It's a lot of information to process within a few days, so more time is needed to review that. But one part of the question was, what do we do to ensure that tax dollars are spent efficiently and effectively? I will take this one back partly to community engagement as well here. So spending tax dollars, we have to ask clear questions about impacts and outcomes and what exactly are we funding, why are we funding it, and is it actually working? It is important to look at the data, of course, but we also need to listen to residents and city staff also who see these programs in action every day. And if something isn't delivering results, we should be willing to adjust or redirect funding. Transparency is very important when it comes to tax and budget. Residents should be able to easily understand where their tax dollars are going and what they're getting in return.
Thank you. I don't see any other. Oh, yeah. Okay, there we go. Joshua, your hand is up.
Can you hear me?
Now I see James's hand. I don't see Joshua. You're there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's a couple of things that need to happen vis-a-vis the budget. First, we need to prioritize budget and focus on the things that's going to help the most people out. I always pull that $5 million that we gave to a private company to expand pickleball. I think that money could have been better spent. I'm sure we can go through the budget and find a way to prioritize what helps people's needs before helps the desire of the developers and the bourgeoisie. We need to also have the people more involved in budgeting. Like the People's Budget Coalition has been organized for a while. We need to listen to them. So not only does the city council need to get the budget early enough to look at it, we also need to make sure the people have a copy of the budget far enough in advance to where they can make real decisions about what the community wants when it comes down to it. Because it's important that everybody in the city is involved in the running of the city as possible. So when it comes down to it, it's just a matter of prioritization and a matter of public input. And does it really do what municipalities and city are designed to do, is to take care of its residents, right? We're not a business. We're not trying to make money. We are trying to support the people and provide services to the people that live in the city. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Joshua. James, you were up next, I believe.
Thank you. So I'll address the $18 million shortfall the same way I've approached every budget I've been responsible for as a small business owner, but also with multi-million dollar line items with the Army. That's with discipline and priorities. First, we audit spending and cut wasteful or non-core programs before we can even talk about raising taxes, which I do not support one iota. And then we also leverage AI and emerging technologies to streamline operations and reduce costs wherever we can. Second, we refocus the budget on core services like public safety, infrastructure, and basic city functions, while putting real accountability measures in place so projects like the street widening that just wasted millions of dollars and delivered nothing for us does not happen again. Finally, we streamline where we can. That includes regulations, so growth doesn't cost as much. It lowers costs instead of expanding the bureaucracy. And then we also focus on prioritizing real problems as fast as possible. Thank you.
Thanks, James. Did everybody answer that question? I'm losing track.
Clark's coming in.
Clark, I think I saw in the chat where you said, could we go in? Somebody said about going in alphabetical order.
I don't want to mess y'all up, but I just feel like it would make it easier.
Yeah,
versus
yeah, I agree.
Kind of
I agree.
Think about who's next and who hasn't gone, just to follow either.
Yeah, I agree. So if we do another group question, I like your idea. So now you want to go ahead and answer?
If that's okay, yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I actually agree with a lot of what James said there. I hate to continue to beat a dead horse, but just to drill down a little bit further about this idea that I've been talking to a lot of people on, and we've seen some movement on with working with churches and nonprofits that typically don't utilize their parcels very well. So don't think about Clark's out here trying to tear down historic steeples, but I'm looking at surface parking lots that park cars for church folk. I'd say church folk because we live in the American South on Wednesday nights and Sunday mornings, and sit idle for most of the rest of the time. Also, mainline churches statistically are struggling. A lot of these churches have 25 people, average age 75. What happens when there's no congregation or assembly, but you have an asset, again, that could really change the generational housing calculus in our city? I did some research inside of 440, and I know I'm going to blow through this quickly, but happy to answer more questions in this format or another. Roughly 148 acres of dirt are owned by local churches inside of 440. Just think about that. 148 acres of dirt, different zoning classes. A lot of those are really nice by right zoning classes that we could utilize for more housing and more gentle and higher density housing, along with the fact that equates to $564 million in tax assessed valued assets. Do 1% of that, and we're looking at between $5 and $6 million of money going back into the public funds and not looking at raising our taxes. And so, again, I'm not coming after the operating companies that are nonprofits. I'm looking at folks that own parcels in our city, particularly ones that have really nice by right zoning opportunities, and asking them to partner with us to leverage
10 seconds.
Privileged tax class and to do what they say they want to do, which is to be a good neighbor.
Thanks, Clark.
I think Stormy's the only one we haven't heard from.
And my raise hand feature, I can't find it, so I'm trying not to mess anything else up. So I just wait till I get called on. But as it relates to the budget, a couple things I want to say. First and foremost, we do have a series of budget work sessions that happen when we're contemplating the budget. And so it's not like we just walk in, they hand it to us, we go to the dais and vote on it the same day. There is an opportunity for the public to come in, as well as, because there's public comment for the budget as well as us being able to daylight everything that's recommended. In this particular budget this year, we were able to give raises to city employees on average between 9 and 11% if you were full-time, 5% if you were part-time, and we didn't raise taxes. That was based on the work of our budget staff being able to, give us that recommendation and make the books balance. This year, what I imagine, if there's a projection of a shortfall, the staff will come back and bring us recommendations about what are the ways that we can get the budget balanced. Some of it may be cutting positions that are dormant, that haven't been utilized by a variety of departments. Some of it may be also trimming certain types of funding for various departments, but we will get recommendations from the staff to be able to get to a point of having a balanced budget. The other thing I will say is that our staff also do a phenomenal job to make sure the credit rating of the city remains AAA. So it's not as if though there's going to be a shortfall and we're going to have an issue where we're not going to be able to cover our debts and cover our expenses. When we get the budget, it will end up balancing out before we actually vote on it.
Thank you, Stormy. Okay, Clodagh, do you have another question for all 6 candidates? Or
I do. There's a couple more. The next one down that was most referenced is about green infrastructure, and as you know, that kind of ties into the development question, but also stormwater and heat islands in some areas of the city. Have you considered how to plant more trees or incorporate more green space within the city to alleviate some of these problems?
Okay, if we follow the alphabetical order, James would be up first with that. James, put pressure on you.
No problem at all. So I believe in building green energy by right. I want you to be able to add on, small tulip wind turbines. Those are very, very small, very high output energy generators that you can put on top of buildings. I want you to be able to add in green walls onto the side of your building where the sun hits, so you can reduce your energy costs during summer and then whenever it's warmer. I want you to be able to build that by right, and I want you to be able to plant trees where you can by right. That means not just downtown, but also the rest of Raleigh. I know we have a huge issue with sidewalk easements, but for everywhere else, I wish the city would take a more greener approach by allowing you to plant more North Carolina native trees in our area. I definitely want to see that happening because I see a lot of non-native trees pop up in the city, and we really need to bring back North Carolina environmental standard here. But yeah, definitely want to build by right for green energy where we can, make it easier to do so on homes, businesses, without having to go through the red tape that is the city. Because a lot of businesses, when they first start up, they have to go through an exorbitant amount of time just through paperwork, through approvals, and it's a nightmare. We need to cut that red tape so we can allow these businesses, these even these developers to add this green energy onto the property so we can cut down on costs throughout the city. Thank you.
Thanks, James. Joshua, you want to go next?
Sure, I'll go next. I mean, the environment is important, and we are referred to the city as of oaks, but there are less and less oaks as we cut down large swaths of trees in order to build fancy luxury condos or townhomes and stuff. I think one of the things that we can do with zoning, when it comes to zoning, we should require the green buffer, and we should try to guarantee a good percentage of the canopy remain intact, or at least have the developers replant, like James says. We don't want invasive species. We want native North Carolina plants. Mitigate them ask the developers to buy their land and plant more trees to where they even it out. There's ways that we can go around that. There's something to be said to allow it by right, but we also need to encourage the developers when we allow them to develop, to incorporate things like green roofs and solar and wind energy. I mean, it's important, and let's remain the city of Oaks and not be the city that used to have Oaks. Over.
Thanks, Josh. Stormy?
Yeah, the city, certainly we support having as much green stormwater infrastructure as possible, particularly with the new developments that are coming online throughout the city. So our planning staff and stormwater staff work with folks who are actually doing the projects throughout the city to make sure those opportunities are there. As relates to green spaces, we, certainly try to expand green spaces as much as we possibly can through our park system. We've unfortunately had some controversial cases that have come through recently about opportunities to connect our greenways over in the same area off of Six Forks, and that particular project is one we're doing in conjunction with the federal government. There's actually going to be some funding that'll be provided to the city to provide that connectivity with the greenway. As it relates to trees, I mean, the city's had several programs throughout the years where we've gone through and provided free trees to residents to actually plant on their property to make sure, as much as we possibly can, as trees are coming down, that we're participating in replacing those trees as well. So we've been pretty active in terms of providing opportunities for residents to have access to free trees to plant throughout the city.
Thanks, Stormy. Yeah, I was going to bring that up, Stormy. The city does have a good tree planting program that neighborhoods can partner with. Our neighborhood, Forest Park, has done that many, many times to work on maintaining our tree canopy. Clark, you're up in the alphabetical order.
Yes, and I think everybody's given a really good answer. I've invested in solar at our family's home. I pay $103 a month for the next 20 years to have the 27 panel array that I have on my house. I believe we need green infrastructure. Google Sponge City, and it will share more details, kind of core functions around rainwater gardens and other things that I think are common sense green infrastructure opportunities that we have in front of us. I think we'll spend about $1 billion over the next 20 years in terms of stormwater infrastructure. I'd like to see some of that continue to prioritize, these green benchmarks that other cities have, some of which were mentioned earlier, along with the fact that if we continue to sprawl and expand without some of the density in these growth centers, we're going to lose a lot of our canopy. I think that's a core reason why I believe in more density in more places. Obviously, that has issues. That has to have balance. It has to be both and versus either or. But I want to see our trees stay. I want to see more trees being planted. I want to see more rain gardens and things in more places. And I don't want our neighbors, particularly in East and Southeast Raleigh, where I live in District C, to continue to bear the brunt of a lot of the heavier rainfalls. Because as I think most people know on this call, a lot of the water moves that way, towards the wetland center. So we've got to do better. We need to have the sponge city concept to make sure we're not just moving water around, but the city's able to respond and, be a bit more permeable than it is right now. Thank you.
Thanks, Clark. Okay. Sana?
Yes. So regarding trees, we do need to plant more trees, but we also need to protect the tree canopy that we already have, especially during new development, because once the trees are gone, it's harder to replace them. Regarding planting new trees, we should incentivize tree planting as part of new developments and rezonings, and not as an afterthought. Regarding infrastructure, we do need to invest in our stormwater infrastructure, especially in the areas that flood today. We have to be careful that new developments do not make flooding worse, or that we're not building in areas that are prone to flooding today. And this should be part of the discussion when rezonings are happening, but we should also proactively invest in maintaining and improving our infrastructure.
Thank you. And Cameron?
All right. Hey, now that I'm speaking last, I get to hear everybody else first, which is, I mean, like I said at the beginning, we got 6 awesome people here, and I think everybody collectively said what I would say. The only thing that we had a lot of good ideas that were thrown out. The only additional commentary I would add is to think about the roadway, right? Transportation, that's my thing. That's what I'm running on. So I'm obviously going to see this through a transportation lens. How can we create roadway surfaces that are permeable? How can we use grass pavers to pave certain portions of the road maybe that cars aren't permitted to go on, right? We'd have to back up a step and then think about how we're going to create pieces of roadway that cars are not permitted on, considering that doesn't really happen in Raleigh right now. And then backing up another step from that, considering so many of the roadways within the city limits are owned by DOT. How do we, with state DOT, how do we collaborate with NCDOT to work towards this solution together? So that's how my mind immediately addresses this question. How can we use permeable paving surfaces, and how can we build that into our development ordinance, and how can we also partner with the state to allow that maybe in their jurisdiction, considering so many of these roadways that we have in the city, NCDOT is actually making the calls on. I think green walls and green roofs are fantastic. I think solar is another fantastic option. I used to work in the solar industry. And then, of course, incentives, whether it is a carrot or a stick, whether it is incentivizing planting new trees or charging, in penalties for removing trees. I think, incentivizing developers to, push that canopy forward is going to be awesome. Also, shout out to Jane Harrison. She's on this call. I know that she is a big champion of trees as well. So, hey, Jane, hope you're doing well. That's all.
All right. Thanks, Cameron. Okay, Clodagh, do we want to queue up another question?
Yeah, we got one more, I think, for all candidates, and then maybe if we have time, we could do individual ones. But the last big one, I think, is affordable housing. There was one question specifically to the limitations that are put on municipalities by the state, and how developers can be incentivized. How would you, dear candidate, go about increasing our affordable housing stock?
Okay, James, you've got the first spot in the alphabet for us.
Thank you. So I'm not in favor of requiring more subsidized housing. I want it to develop naturally. Raleigh's been slipping out of the top places to live over the past few years. It's just becoming more and more unaffordable as we keep going. I live in District C, and all I see nowadays are for sale signs or for rent signs that are still staying up. If folks can't even afford to rent here where they normally could, then what good is subsidized housing going to do when we all have to foot the bill for that? So I want to go through the UDO. I want to allow developers to build where they can, in a smart way, where they can contribute to the community, through infrastructure development, and also, as we discussed before, through green development. But we shouldn't be forcing developers or builders, for that matter, to develop a small section of their own housing for subsidized housing. That's tying them up. That's reducing their ability to maintain the property, because with nearly all subsidized housing throughout the nation, you see a decrease in maintenance for those subsidized units. Whereas if I develop naturally, just like in Economics 101, if you have a deficit in something, you have to build more of it. If we keep holding up these new housing developments, that's where we're going to see an increase in costs. So we need to cut the red tape. We need to build more housing where we can, do it smartly. And that's how I feel that we can address housing affordability.
Thanks, James. Okay, Joshua.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to deregulate our way out of the affordable housing crisis. Unfortunately, I just don't think that most of the developers are worried about anything but profit. I think that there's a way to get around that, though, is the city can use its own resources to build housing for people on city land. We could do it cheaply. We could try to put together a program whereby we take people in tech schools and vocational programs in high school, get them training, give them a stake in what they're doing, and have them build housing for people that can't afford it otherwise on city land. The benefit of that is the best way to lower crime in any city is providing services and housing to people that don't have it. So rather than trying to bribe the developers into doing it, I mean, it would be great if every developer on any large scale project donated 10% of their stock to the city for the city to assign as needed, but it's really hard to legally enforce that. So I think the answer is going to be the city actually having stuff built without a profit motive, building quality housing for the people that need it most. And I think it's like the reverse of trickle down economics. It's trickle up. If you provide people a place to stay and the services they need, enable them to contribute more to society as a whole. It will make them better citizens and better workers and everything else. So that's my answer, that we can't wait on the generosity of the wealthy to save the people that actually make them the money. Over.
Thanks, Joshua. Stormy?
Yeah, I think about 2 years ago, there was some data that came out in order to solve the affordable housing issue in Wake County. We would need 65,000 units of housing across the county. So, of course, 65,000 units of affordable housing will not be built in the city of Raleigh alone. So we've got to work with our partners over at the county commission. And one of the things that we're looking at now is adding another affordable housing bond on the ballot. We passed an affordable housing bond in 2020, $80 million for that bond. All of it has been utilized. And what we were able to do were contributed projects. For example, CASA did Kings Ridge over off of Pool Road. They put 100 units of housing in the marketplace for folks coming in directly from being unsheltered into having housing stability. The city of Raleigh was the biggest contributor to that program. The county contributed, I think the city contributed 10 million. The county contributed, I think it was 4 million, and the federal government contributed $2 million. Certainly we have to look at what are the types of projects we're going to be able to do if we implement another affordable housing bond. Another project that's taking place right now is Heritage Park. Currently, there are 123 units of affordable housing at Heritage Park. The Raleigh Housing Authority has partnered with a private developer. They're going to be able to put 1,000 units of housing over there. Some of it would be market rate, but it would drastically increase the number of affordable housing and low-income housing units that will be in the marketplace. And something that I mentioned earlier, not only do you have an opportunity to increase the number of units at a Heritage Park that'll be affordable housing or low-income housing, but we're replacing outdated 123 outdated units and getting probably 300 or 400 units of new top quality affordable housing, which is important. So it's not just the quantity, but it's the quality.
Thank you.
It's me, Michael. I'm ready. If you're okay with that, thumbs up. Yes, we good. Okay, I'm going to keep going if that's okay, Michael. Thank you. Just to keep moving. Largely agree with what everybody said. I think we all align in certain aspects of this. I've talked about one of my core ideas and the depth at which I think this idea is super important for this next chapter. When Joshua talks about power, I don't think about developers first and foremost. I think about the power of the American church and how that connects to ownership of land. That is true globally, but particularly here in the American South. We still have a lot of churches. Demand and attendance of those churches is diminishing, as we know. Let's get ahead. Let's be proactive, and let's work with these folks who have been investing in our community sometimes for 50, 100, 200 years on particular corners. I think mixed income neighborhoods are the most resilient. And so another thing I'd like to mention, I don't think it's been mentioned so far, is we can't just build affordable housing. We're not building enough. Right? Full stop. We need better permitting. James and I have talked about this a little bit on Facebook. Permitting makes building housing very difficult in our city. We're not building enough. We need to build more, ideally in an appropriately dense way, connecting to transit. And then we also need to make sure that we're creating mixed income neighborhoods and not just building affordable housing in District C. I want to see more housing and with more choices in more places throughout our city, so that neighbors, city employees, teachers, folks who are engaged in the life of our city can also afford to live in neighborhoods within our city.
Thanks, Clark. Sonny, you're up next.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm gonna take it in a little bit of a different direction. I do know, I am aware that North Carolina, apparently the law limits what cities can or cannot require when it comes to affordable housing. But I personally like to look into this more. This is what I've heard from the city council and the staff, that we can't require developers to build affordable housing. But I believe there has to be some kind of gray area here, because I think there are other cities in North Carolina that have been able to go around it. And I want us to learn from that if that is the case. So that would be something that I'd really want to do on the council. I want to look closely at what the rules actually are, how far, and if we can push them, and how we can better tie affordability to rezoning and development decisions. We do need more housing. I agree. I think we all agree with that. But right now, I think the focus has to be on affordability throughout Raleigh, throughout the city.
Thank you. And Cameron?
So even though my stance on this is that we should be focused on making housing affordable rather than to make affordable housing, I do think that subsidized housing belongs in Raleigh. I think that how we apply subsidized housing to the larger housing landscape is very important. So like Clark said, mixed income neighborhoods are resilient. I think mixed income neighborhoods are also just more vibrant and fun a lot of the times, and they are by definition more diverse. So a way that we could make this happen, and this is just one way that we could make more mixed income neighborhoods happen, is to allow the building of a quadplex where one of those units is affordable. Now, quadplexes are classified as apartments under the state building code right now, but if we can work with the state to create some sort of exception where we could actually classify those quadplexes as dwellings or as detached conventional housing, that would be, I think that would be a really good way to incentivize developers to do that. Because when it's classified as an apartment, you have to have fire suppression systems, you have to have all sorts of different stuff, because that apartment classification goes up to these high rises that John Kane is building. So if we can change some of these requirements with the condition that one of those units, 25% of the units in that structure are affordable, then we'll be able to pepper in smaller buildings into these neighborhoods that have affordable units mixed in. I think that would not impact the neighborhood as much as dropping 50 affordable units in there. And overall, it would add to the neighborhood's character. The other part of this is getting people ready for affordable housing, right? How do you get somebody out of a tent near Triangle Town Center and into affordable housing? Oftentimes, that is going to happen through some sort of program. I actually know a guy, his name is Tony, and he is exiting Cornerstone. He graduated one of Cornerstone's programs. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that. That's over on Snow Ave. And he's moving down to Peach of the Pines, just south of town. He pays light and water, and he's got his own key now. So I've talked to him about these programs, and if we can fund these programs again through siphoning money away from maybe other city programs, or maybe reinstating the red light camera program and using those funds to fund these programs, we can onboard people and then hopefully get them into those quadplexes or similar affordable housing. I think it's a two-part approach, but that's how I would attack it. There are other ways to do it.
Okay, thanks, Cameron. Okay, Clodagh, do we want to do another question for the group or just go popcorn and just mix it up?
We can mix it up. We're running low-ish on time. I've got 5 more questions from the chat.
Okay.
But some of them, maybe maybe we can do what is it called, where you just quick answers?
Yeah.
So there's one question that one sentence answers from the candidates, I think would be maybe helpful, that we can save some time. That is, what city service is currently underfunded? What would you reallocate to fix it? I know that might be a little more involved, but just what's underfunded? And what is the most urgent infrastructure investment in the next 5 years? We can do a short one on that. I will put it in the chat, so.
And were we saying this is a question for whoever cares to answer it, or do we want all 6 candidates to answer it?
I think whoever.
Okay. Well, Cameron's got his hand up first.
Hey, I was actually going to ask if we could split those out into one at a time. Is that okay, or should we kind of do another double?
Okay, one at a time. Sounds
cool.
Good.
Which one would you like me to answer first?
What city service is currently underfunded?
Raleigh Fire Department.
What would you reallocate to fix it? So 2 parts, sorry.
Gotcha. Well, I would start with roadway. I'd start with moving some funding away from roadway resurfacing.
Thanks, Cameron. Anybody else want to answer the questions?
Sure, I'll go.
I would jump in and say that I think the area where we need to do more expansion is probably the police department, just based on response times and the amount of with increased housing that we put in the marketplace. There have been a number of conversations about how to provide funding for them. There's some data that shows, I think there's a poll that was done that shows folks would be willing to pay an extra penny in sales tax and have that money actually come back to the police department to be able to fund more positions and also make sure they've got the equipment that they need to be able to have adequate response times.
Okay. Thanks, Stormy. James, you've got your hand up.
Sorry, I've been championing this for a long time, is first responders. We've had some of the worst paid first responders in the state for years. And as they just said, I was just talking to them yesterday, and, they're scoffing at the 11% because they've been asking for that for decades now. I would reallocate there's a few line item budgets where we can axe immediately that are being replenished every single year, and a few $1 million at that. So I would love to reallocate those funds over to first responders, but also we have a very archaic pay system for both our first responders. For both our RFD and RPD. We should switch over to a time and grade and a time and service system that will take care of pay inequity, imbalance, and glass ceilings, and also bringing both departments into parity with each other will get rid of a lot of insurance issues that they have.
Okay, anybody else? Okay.
Just briefly, I would echo first responders. Y'all have said that understaffed, underpaid, look at benchmarks all over the place. It's pretty clear that we're far behind there. I would argue again that housing is an infrastructure investment that we need to continue to prioritize. We've talked about it all night. It's the key issue facing our city as we try to thoughtfully grow and manage growth. It's the thing that connects to every other thing, and the thing that we're going to continue to talk about. And I think everybody here on the call needs to press us on, hold us accountable to, and evaluate our best ideas in this primary season as we head to the general. So thank you.
Okay. Thanks,
Josh,
you got your hand up?
Yes, I would say the fire department and 911, the 911 center and the EMS are probably are underfunded. I think city workers in general aren't paid as well as they should be to live in the city. I'm looking for the second part to that question. It got buried in the chat.
What would you reallocate to fix it?
Well, it's just a matter of it from a lot of places. I mean, a lot of the waste we can cut out within departments. Like the Raleigh Police doesn't need an LRAD to aim at, teenagers on Martin Luther King Day a couple of years ago. I mean, there's money to be had. It's just a matter of prioritizing the equipment that you need to actually do your job. I think in a lot of there's a lot of places on the city budget where we can make some changes. So that's my answer. Thanks.
Thanks, Joshua.
I'll go next. I do agree that the city staff overall is underfunded and they do need support. First responders and a safety staff is more priority for me here because they serve the residents directly. But then again, I spoke about being a small business earlier. There are issues like permitting, inspections. They also impact small businesses and residents on day-to-day basis. So overall, as a whole, city staff is underfunded. To answer the question about where would I reallocate the resources from, that's a really difficult one for me to answer without having a good understanding of where the budget is, where the money should actually come from. So I don't have a good answer for that one. The other question was about stormwater. What was the other question? There was the infrastructure investments, I believe.
Yeah, we just did the first part though. So city service that's underfunded, or infrastructure that's most urgent.
Okay. I believe I was the last one, so I'll just go ahead and answer the other question here. Infrastructure that's most urgent, in short, is stormwater infrastructure and also the transportation infrastructure for me.
Thank you.
So I would suggest possibly, if that's okay with everybody, we're getting close. It's 8:20 now, that we provide the candidates a little time for closing and to add anything that they wanted to expressly comment on or share with us.
Yeah, I'd like to also just say if we can keep this to a minute, that would be great.
I vote we go in the order backwards, though. Cameron, you got to go first. No, I'm just kidding. We can go whatever order.
We can do that. We can mix it up.
It's easy for me as an R name to pick on the B and the Z. So I defer to you, Michael.
Cameron, you want to do that?
Might as well.
Okay.
All right. 1 minute spiel. Raleigh's Raleigh's growing really fast. If Raleigh moves well, Raleigh will grow well. We can't stop the growth, but we can change the way that we move. That's why transportation is my key point. Again, in 6 words, the reason I'm running is because City Council needs young, courageous leaders. I hope to be one of your 2 votes. Early voting is through the second half of February and on March 3rd. So please tell all of your friends to get involved. This is an important election, and we got 6 awesome people running for council. So thanks for the support and thanks for the time.
Thank you, Cameron. Okay, then Sana, you're up next.
Thank you so much for having me here, and I think you guys did an amazing job of moderating this. This is my first time doing something like this. So, good experience. I really appreciate you. Like I said earlier, today I may not have all the answers, but right now my job is to learn and listen and understand, so that once, hopefully, I'm in the office, I am ready to serve. I will say again that community is a huge part of who I am. So if you have questions for me, please feel free to reach out to me directly. I am very open and available to speak with everyone. If you go to my website, sanaforraleigh.com, I'll put it in the chat. It's 4 with a number 4, sanaforraleigh.com. You can find all the different ways to connect with me through social media like LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever works for you, email. I would encourage that you reach out to me, and I would actually appreciate people reaching out to me. So thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing from everyone.
Thank you. Okay, Clark, you're up next.
Kudos, Cameron, you said this twice, and I mean it too. Thank you, friends, for raising your hand and serving in this point of inflection, this time where I think leadership is required to ensure that we have the resources we need to move forward, and so our neighbors don't get pushed farther and farther to the margins. I think the question that I want to leave you with is, as you look at us, as you hear our ideas, who's going to execute? What ideas resonate with you the most for folks here on the call? And then who's going to execute? Who has the multidisciplinary experience, the multi-sector relationships, the know-how? We all clearly have the willingness and the heart to do this. You've heard that all night. But as you look at this next chapter, these 2 seats that make up 2 of 8 seats on this council, who do you want to see? Who do you believe can get the work done, not just talk about the work or virtue signal? And then who will you entrust your vote in the primary, whether that's early voting or on March 3rd? And then, will you hold us accountable to the things that we say? I want to be a person that says what I mean and means what I say. And so integrity matters. I want to listen to you. I want to learn from you. And I want to lead alongside of you. Thank you so much, friends.
Thanks, Clark. And Stormy, before you're going to be next, but I've seen in the chat where some people have put in their website for their campaign. If you haven't done that, take advantage of it to put it into the chat. And Stormy, whenever you want to respond, you're up.
Thank you so much. Again, appreciate the time. Appreciate folks being on the call, asking tough questions. I know that there are folks on here who may not always agree with the decisions that I make, and I do take that to heart. But one of the things I'll say about Raleigh, I will always say that I think we are the best city in the United States and one of the best cities in the world. We are on the radar for Major League Baseball, and if we're able to land a team, that could be a $3 billion economic impact for this community. And what that would mean is that a lot of the issues we talked about tonight, be it affordable housing, increases for public safety, infrastructure improvements, a lot of those things really could be solved if we were able to land that team. But certainly having a lot of Fortune 500 companies decide to relocate and come to Raleigh is a testament to the wonderful city that we have created. Again, I would appreciate your vote and your support as we move through this primary process. And again, thank y'all for being on the call tonight.
Thanks, Stormy. Joshua?
First of all, thanks for hosting this. It's really good to be able to get opinions and out there. I just want to tell everybody this isn't the first time I've run. James knows he's run as many times as I have. So my positions haven't changed since 2019, when I first ran. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. If you go to my website, I've got a detailed, comprehensive platform. I'm somebody that is here. I'm here to fight for the workers. I am here to fight for the poor and to the people that are living in the streets. I'm not going to be one of the people that here is going to spend a lot of time trying to help out businesses, because I think there's enough representation that I'm here for the workers, the people that actually create the value. I'm above corruption. The developers see the fact that I'm a socialist and a green and aren't going to give me any money. So I'm not going to be paid off by any of the developers or the wealthy to subvert my message, and I will stick by it and have since I've began. But I'd like to thank you all again for having me. Please look up the website, and I'd like to thank the other candidates for making an interesting race, and be sure to vote in the primary because a lot of the national races are important, but the people that affect you most probably are your city government that affects you most directly and that are easily reachable. And one other thing is, if there's something you believe in, just voting isn't going to be the answer. You not only need to vote, you need to get involved, and you need to join an organization that will help you get what you believe in. Even if it's not mine, please organize and hold electeds accountable. Thank you very much, and have a great night.
Thanks, Joshua. And James, you're the last one up.
Thank you. So first and foremost, we haven't had a Veterans Day parade in 3 years. We need to bring that back. I go to my local VFW, and they generally are the ones that are hosting it. And all I hear is complaints about working with council. Being a 20-year Army veteran myself, I want to bring that back. But also I want to close by talking about fairness and responsibility. I want to work directly with the North Carolina General Assembly to pursue targeted tax relief and authority for Wake County, relief that protects long-term residents and veterans and first responders while keeping our tax base stable. That takes cooperation, credibility, and someone willing to do the work instead of making empty promises. So what I want to do is expand an existing law or benefit right now. And it's very, very simple. If you've lived in your home for 20 years or more, or if you're a veteran who served our country or a first responder, you should not be taxed out of your neighborhood because Raleigh has failed to plan responsibly. I want to give you a $45,000 tax benefit towards your property tax each year, just like I receive. Lastly, I believe that leadership means sacrifice. That's why I'm going to donate my pay, my city council salary, to high school seniors through scholarships and workforce development right here in Raleigh. This campaign is not about a paycheck. It's about service. It is about sacrifice. And Raleigh deserves leaders who put their residents first. And that's exactly what I intend to do. So please, I'm at the top of your ballot. Please vote for me in the March primary. You can vote for 2. I ask you to vote for me. Please head over to electjamesbledsoe.com. Learn more about my campaign. Thank you.
Thanks, James. Okay, before we wrap up, I see Donna, you raised your hand.
Yeah, I just want to say, because this is something I was a little confused about. This is the very first time that the city council that we're having a primary. So out of the 6 candidates, you vote for 4.
No.
You vote for
2. I'm sorry.
four.
You vote for 2. The top 4 go to the primary.
No, to the general.
And that is where you will get to vote for 2.
You mean the top 4 go to the general election?
General election, right?
Yeah.
That's sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
It's too late now.
Yeah, okay.
And
All right.
then, so that means for the 2 at-large positions, there's 2 people for each position.
Right.
And then you would get to vote for 2. The candidate that has the most votes from the primary. Okay, somebody else help explain this to me. It's 4 years.
Certainly.
And then the next highest one gets the 2 years. And then in 2 years.
That's in the general, Donna, not in the primary, but yes, that's right.
Okay, in the general. All right, thanks, Stormy. I know it's a little confusing because we've all, this is new and the at-large is a little more confusing. I would like to also direct people to go to Livable Raleigh because we have a ton of education voting information there. And I think we're going to be posting the chat from this tonight. Is that correct, Mike? Or
I'll see when we get done what we can get out of this.
We're going to try. So thank you, everybody, for coming. And thanks for being involved. We need more people involved. And like Joshua said, the local elections is what affects us the very most. So please vote in the primaries and in the general election.
All right. Okay, thanks, Donna. So let's just wrap it up. Again, the immediate thing to know is you can vote for 2 of these 6 wonderful candidates coming up real soon. And then 4 of them will go forward to the fall election. And I just got to say, I heard some very creative ideas today about everything from purely private sector stuff to government and then combinations in between. And I heard a lot of creative ideas. I think if these 6 people got together and talked through some of these ideas, we can make some real good progress. So thank you guys. And again, thank you for wanting to do this because public service is a real calling, I think. You don't do it for the big bucks or for the glory. And as James says, he's donating his salary. So good for you guys. And thank you for joining us. A lot of great ideas, and we'll get out some information from tonight's forum.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.